The 2016 Honda Fit. Okay, this is actually the 2015 model, but Honda hasn't changed it year over year, so same difference. This is the EX trim, which includes features like a moonroof, 16-inch alloy wheels, which look damn nice by the way, a lane watch camera, 7-inch touchscreen, Siri eyes free, push-button start, smart entry, fog lights, and Honda Link compatibility. As far as exterior design goes, it's alright. I got mine in white orchid pearl, but there are 8 colors to choose from. It's better than previous generation Fits, but the car is still somewhat reminiscent of a giant insect. I think they overdid the front styling lines, but often I have a personal preference for minimalism, which the rest of the car does swimmingly. The interior gets better. The car is spacious, like really spacious. There's plenty of legroom in both the front and rear seats, and the rears not only fold just about totally flat, but also fold up for vertical room. The interior is pretty minimalistic, with a few styling lines here and there, but for an economy car it looks pretty good. It's light on storage, but that doesn't bother me too much. Cup holders it has aplenty, including this odd one positioned on the dash, which is within easy reach, being well placed except for the fact that it's in front of an air vent. Comfort is this car's weak suit. As I said before, there's plenty of legroom, even in the relatively comfortable rear seats, but the steering wheel's short range of telescoping motion doesn't mix well with my long legs, and I'm unable to reach the wheel without stretching a bit more than I'd like. The armrest, well, there is no armrest. You don't really realize how much you like having one until you're forced to go without. All of this pales in comparison to the awful seats. They're firm, and their weird shape forces me to contort my back into positions which create soreness later. The headrest points too far forward and forces my neck down. Woo, safety. Thanks, NHTSA. I'm actually pretty skinny, which counterintuitively means my thin frame sinks into seats quite a bit due to limited contact area, so the firmness of these seats causes some real aches after driving for about 25 minutes. All in all, these seats suck, and I've actually already had my driver's seat modified to add cushioning and to change the shape. I think those who are larger than me may actually have a better time with them, however. Strangely enough, these seats are some of the most comfortable I've sat in for passengers or sleepers who can recline the seat basically as much as they want and flip the headrest around to rest their head. So how does it drive? Pretty good, actually. I actually test drove most of the cars in this class before I bought this one, and as far as handling and steering goes, especially steering, with the exception of the Mazda 3, this one is better than all the other cars in the class. As far as ride noise goes, you can probably hear in the background. It can get a bit loud, but it's perfectly within tolerable range. The suspension is a bit stiff, but again, perfectly tolerable. It seems like with these cars, the electric steering it kind of eliminates the road feel. But this one actually isn't that bad. You still get a little bit of road feel, it seems like, in this one. As far as like body roll goes, like I said, the suspension is a bit stiff, but you still, the car lets you know we got a turn coming up here, so I'll show you. The car really lets you know when you're turning. It's like, woo, we are turning. Okay. Anyway, the acceleration is actually very good. It's 130 horsepower, 1.5 liter, but it'll really go when you want it to. Yeah, it's pretty good because the car is so light. The RPMs, they can get a little high. For, you know, some people who really like to accelerate might find that the RPMs go a little bit too high, but I normally keep it below 2,500 RPMs, and pretty much we're turning again. Woo! I put my arm on the bolster so I don't slide out all over the place. But the RPMs I usually keep under 2,500, even though red line is like 7,000 or something. The brakes are actually very good, very responsive, which I found out the hard way after almost hitting a deer the second day after I bought it. But I didn't because the brakes are very good. Even though the brakes in the rear are actually drum brakes, just the fronts have discs. As far as visibility goes, it is pretty easy to see out of this thing because the windows are huge. Skinny road. Alright, don't want to have a head-on collision because I'm talking to the camera. As far as visibility goes, the windows are very large. It's very easy to see out of. The mirrors have a split view, so that makes your blind spot very small. And like I said before, the steering, it feels very responsive. Unlike a lot of the other cars I tested in this class, the steering was kind of floaty. But in this car, it's very good for having electric steering. My old BMW that I used to have obviously was hydraulic, and the road feel was better on that one. But again, this car is better than most of the other cars in the class, with the exception of the Mazda 3, which is a far more expensive car. So, just so we can get it mentioned, it's fairly easy to steer. The steering wheel, there's not a whole lot of resistance, which I actually like, except on turns when it gives you that kind of fake resistance. Again, they do a pretty good job with it. So while a hydraulic system I think has a better feel, this electric steering system is still done very well. It's definitely one of the better ones out there. The CVT transmission is an upgrade from a geared transmission for small cars like these, in my opinion. My EX model has paddle shifters, which increase or decrease the gear ratio, but they're mostly unnecessary as the system is pretty good at picking a gear ratio. Sometimes it seems like the car is a little unsure what gear ratio to use on hills, but that's true of any car. It decelerates relatively quickly when you let off the accelerator, but I believe that's mostly due to the car's low weight. The technology features are pretty impressive given this car's price point. The headlights are automatic, but the high beams aren't. There's a rear view camera standard, and my EX has dynamic guidelines. The most interesting addition is the lane watch camera, which automatically displays the area to the right of your car when you turn on your right blinker or push the lane watch button. This is great. I love it. It even has indicators that show you how close the nearest car is. Why the hell isn't this on the left side, though? Give me lane watch on both sides, Honda. The infotainment, like so many in-car infotainment systems, sucks. Like, badly. It's slow and irritating to use, especially when driving. At least it doesn't have a resistive touchscreen like some new cars still do. I'll take knobs and buttons over this touchscreen BS in cars any day. Speaking of knobs, volume knobs. If you're used to having a volume knob, get ready to make volume adjustments much slower and more cumbersome. Actually, just use the buttons on the steering wheel, that's much faster. No radio station favorite buttons either. If you want to access those, you literally have to swipe up or press this tiny nub here and scroll through the list to select the one you want. Needless to say, this is impossible to do while driving unless you want to wreck your brand new car. So the only real way to scroll through radio station favorites is to do them manually, one at a time, using the steering wheel buttons. If you want to select a source, you can struggle with the on-screen button or scroll through them with the wheel button. It does have the option to play Pandora through iOS. By the way, you must allow access on your phone each time, so it still isn't seamless, but I found mobile Pandora's audio quality to be lacking, especially playing through larger speakers, like this car's 180-watt 6-speaker or 4-loudspeaker to tweeter setup. It also has Bluetooth functionality, which seems to sporadically refuse to connect automatically. Not sure if that's the fault of my phone or the car. In addition, you can plug your iPod in through USB, which is good for power as well as audio. There's even this nice cubby where you can tuck your cable or charging adapter. Audio quality across any source is kind of meh. There's enough power here for most people, but the audio quality provided by both the head unit and the speakers is a little bit lacking, even for a non-audiophile like me. The infotainment system does have some pretty neat features, like displaying mileage information, but overall it's a mess. Why did they display the radio station information like this? This is dumb. Look at all the places they could have put that info. There's no navigation on my EX model, but you can use Honda's crappy Honda Link software through iOS to get it. Almost forgot to mention, there's a CD player. My EX model has push to start and smart entry, which makes getting in and starting the car a breeze. No fumbling for keys. Unless you want to access the rear doors. Smart entry doesn't work with those. Push button start is also very convenient, excluding when I want to turn the car off and listen to the radio for a couple minutes after I arrive at my destination. That requires an extra button press, which is a minor inconvenience. This car has automatic climate control on the EXL trim, but I actually prefer manual AC control. Knobs! The pre-installed tires that you get depend on where and when you get the car, but mine came with Firestone FR 740 All Seasons, which I found to be pretty sticky on dry pavement, a wee bit slippery on wet pavement, and we'll see how well they do in snow come winter. It's front-wheel drive, so I've got that going for me. Honda recommends you underinflate the tires to 32 to 33 psi, which seems a bit strange to me, but what do I know? A few other things I wanted to touch on. The turn signals make a nice clicky sound, unlike many other new cars with near silent signals. These could actually be a bit louder, but they are better than most. The windshield wipers kinda suck. It doesn't form a great seal on the window, so the driver's wiper is pretty noisy. Much of the interior is a bit flimsy. It's not really worse than many other cars, but I often feel like they can do a better job with this. Even luxury automakers make interior finishes like this. You can feel a noticeable draft from the air vents even when the fan is off. This isn't a plus or a negative, just something to be aware of when you're setting the temperature knob. Speaking of which, the heater doesn't get very hot, which I honestly think is because the engine is so small that it doesn't produce all that much heat. It is well within the good enough range, however. One nice convenience feature is that the doors all lock when driving and unlock when the driver's door is opened. In the dash is this LCD screen which displays your odometer and trip monitor, oil life and other maintenance messages, fuel meter and range, which is deliberately underestimated by about a gallon, and the gas mileage. Yep, I've saved the best for last. This car's gas mileage is f***ing amazing. This car doesn't handle like an ultra fuel efficient car. It isn't the right size for an ultra fuel efficient car, and it doesn't carry the cost premium of a hybrid because it isn't one. The EPA ratings for this trim level are 32 city, 38 highway, but in real world usage I get a real 42.18 miles to the gallon. Yeah, the dash overestimates a little, but still. 42.18 miles to the gallon. One time the meter read 47 miles to the gallon, but I actually measured it at 43.47. Wait, am I complaining about 43.5 miles to the gallon? No, I'm not. The gas tank is only 10.6 gallons, but I have to fill it up less often than my old car that had a 20-gallon tank. This car's gas mileage is actually better than a Smart for 2. I actually keep it in econ mode all the time. Luckily the car saves your state after you restart it. But econ mode basically deadens air conditioning a little bit and reduces gas pedal sensitivity, which is good because I don't like my air conditioning that cold, and I don't have that particularly sensitive of a foot, so I actually keep it in econ mode all the time, and I love it that way. Without econ mode on, I'm accidentally accelerating too fast a lot of the time. So all in all, I'm going to give the 2016 Honda Fit a 7.5 out of 10 rating. So thanks so much for watching. If you want to see my commentary video that goes along with this video when it's available, click this annotation right here. On a completely unrelated note, you can watch my video Donald Trump versus free trade right here, or subscribe to be notified of future videos.